just say this for those that continue to feign great surprise about what happened on January 6th. As a Black woman, to be barricaded in my office using office furniture and water bottles on the ground in the dark, that terror, those moments of terror, is familiar in a deep and ancestral way for me. And I want us to do everything to ensure that a breach like this never occurs at the Capitol. But I want us to address the evil and scourge that is white supremacy in this nation.
I want you to take a listen to this entire exchange between Jake Tapper and Representative Ayanna Pressley out of Massachusetts, as she explains what she went through during the January 6th incident, the terrorist attack of January 6th, as well as how she feels that we as a nation should address the very real problem of white supremacy in this country. Take a listen in.
But let me just say this for those that continue to feign great surprise about what happened on January 6th. As a Black woman, to be barricaded in my office using office furniture and water bottles on the ground in the dark, that terror, those moments of terror, is familiar in a deep and ancestral way for me. And I want us to do everything to ensure that a breach like this never occurs at the Capitol. But I want us to address the evil and scourge that is white supremacy in this nation. This is not only about securing the Capitol to ensure that members and our staffs and the custodial staff and food service workers are safe in the Capitol. It is that we are safe in America. And one of the images that I'm haunted by is the Black custodial staff cleaning up the mess left by that violent white supremacist mob. That is a metaphor for America. We have been cleaning up after violent white supremacist mobs for generations, and it must end. So impeach, expel, investigate.
Impeach, expel, investigate. Yeah, let's say it. Impeach, expel, and investigate. The imagery that Ayanna Pressley, first of all, I knew of Ayanna Pressley when I lived in Boston, and she was a dynamic figure there. And she's brought that dynamic character to Washington, D.C., and we're better because of it. To think about the fact that our sister was, along with so many other people, to think about the fact that their lives were actually threatened because of the ignorance of white supremacy in this country is terrifying, but still another day in America, right? This is the violence of white supremacy. And I love the way that she put it at the end. She said very clearly, she said, if the imagery of these custodial workers cleaning up the mess, Black custodial workers cleaning up the mess of these white supremacist terrorists, the imagery of it is a definitive reminder that the United States of America has had to be cleaned up regularly by Black people responding and fixing the problems of a white supremacist America. And she's spot on there. And I know a lot of people are going to try to attack her for this, but I don't think anyone who would fix their mouth to attack Ayanna Pressley for what she said is operating in good faith. So we dismiss them. We dismiss them because it is very true that our leaders, our congressional leaders, were under attack that day. Wherever they were in the city, it is close enough in proximity, whether they were in the offices for the first year members of Congress or second term members of Congress, wherever they were located. It was a very direct threat. The attack on January 6th was a very real threat to those people. But even more or equally as important is what has to be done afterwards. And this is what Ayanna is talking about. She's saying that after this is all said and done, it must be an indictment against white supremacy in this country. Not just the people who were there, not just Donald Trump. Impeach, convict, and investigate Donald Trump, right? But America has to take the posture and the disposition towards white supremacy that matches the level of threat that it poses to this country. See, we spend trillions on war against the so-called war on terror. But we're hesitant even calling white supremacy domestic terrorism. And when Joe Biden did that during his inaugural speech, I have to tell you that actually is meaningful and substantive, but we need policy action to follow up consistently. And I think what you and I can do, if you want to know what you and I can do, is that we have to regularly remind America about what white supremacy did on January 6th. Now, there's plenty of other stuff that white supremacy did before January 6th. But because white supremacy got so full of itself that it thought that it could march up the steps of the Capitol and take on the military-industrial complex, the entirety of American imperialism, I think it is an opportunity for us to show America the real threat that white supremacy is. But if we take our boot off of their necks, the necks of white supremacy, I don't apologize for having our boots on their necks. We need to all get our boots on their necks, the necks of white supremacy. It must be crushed. But if we ever let up and ever back down, then we will very quickly see that white supremacy will be right back marching up the steps of the Capitol, threatening the lives of Congresspeople, because it is white supremacy never lost in this country until Donald Trump lost. So a lot of respect for Ayanna Pressley in general, but I really appreciate her for stepping up in this moment to say these things, because these are the things that we need to be reminded of constantly.
But let me just say this, for those that continue to feign great surprise about what happened on January 6th. As a Black woman, to be barricaded in my office using office furniture and water bottles on the ground in the dark, that terror, those moments of terror, is familiar in a deep and ancestral way for me. And I want us to do everything to ensure that a breach like this never occurs at the Capitol. But I want us to address the evil and scourge that is white supremacy in this nation.